We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not. Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. Going to have a UFC fight, championship fight, full fight, like 25,000 people. And we're going to do that as part of 250 also. We're going to have some incredible events, some professional.
Jon Jones and Conor McGregor are teasing epic comebacks, with Dana White and Donald Trump hinting at an unprecedented UFC card at the White House. The fight world is buzzing as the biggest names prepare for a potential historic showdown, in a moment that left both the sports world and political circles stunned. Former President Donald Trump took the stage and made a bold promise that instantly grabbed headlines. With his signature flair, Trump revealed plans for an unforgettable spectacle tied to America's 250th birthday celebration, one that would bring the action and excitement of the UFC right to the heart of the nation's most iconic landmark.
We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not. Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. Going to have a UFC fight, championship fight, full fight, like 25,000 people. And we're going to do that as part of 250 also. We're going to have some incredible events, some professional events, some amateur events. But the UFC fight's going to be a big deal.
As soon as talks of a UFC event at the White House hit the internet, critics and media outlets were quick to call it unrealistic and crazy. But Michael Bisping stepped in to shut down the negativity, reminding everyone that with Donald Trump, Dana White, and the UFC's global power, anything is possible, even a once-in-a-lifetime fight on America's most famous lawn.
And let me tell you, even though there's a lot of people, because I just Googled UFC at the White House, and Yahoo and the Huffington Post and stuff like that came up talking going, oh my God, this is crazy. They've gone full idiocracy. How are you going to do that? Madison Square Garden only holds 20,000 people. Listen, if they've got the land, they've got the money, they've got the know-how, they've got the resources, they've got the fighters. If anyone can do it, it's Donald Trump and Dana White. So bet your bottom dollar, 2026, we might get a UFC event at the White House, which would be absolutely insane.
The MMA world has erupted with excitement as talk of a potential UFC event at the White House spreads across social media and sports headlines. Fans, fighters, and experts all started talking about who could be on the card. Now, even former UFC champions are stepping up, ready to be part of this once-in-a-lifetime event. On the other hand, as the buzz around the White House UFC event continued to build, an unforgettable moment took place when Conor McGregor met Donald Trump in person. Their conversation revealed mutual respect and admiration, highlighting the unique connection between the fighting world and the political stage.
Nice kids, try suit. It's one of my own. I guess you want to do all.
Congratulations, sir. I tell you what, your work ethic is inspiring. Your work rate is inspiring.
Meanwhile, with the idea of a UFC fight at the White House gaining attention, former champ Michael Bisping shared his thoughts. He told fans to relax and have fun, saying it would be amazing to fight there. Then, he started talking about the exciting matchups that could happen at this special event.
Dana's going to do it.
Of course, there's a lot of people out there that are talking shit. The leftist media, they're all out there going, oh my God, this is crazy. They've gone full idiocracy. Look, listen, it's a bit of fun. It's a great sport. Donald Trump loves it, and he's loved the UFC for years. And I'll tell you what, if they put on a UFC event at the White House, I want to be there. If I was competing, I would have loved to compete at the White House. I'm very lucky I fought all over the world on almost every single continent. To fight at the White House, that would be unbelievable. So I'm going to take you through a dream card, because some fighters have already been putting their hand up and volunteering their services.
Furthermore, to truly understand how this wild idea of a UFC event at the White House became possible, it's important to look back at the long-standing relationship between Donald Trump and UFC President Dana White. Their bond goes way back to the early days of the UFC, when the sport was still fighting for survival and mainstream acceptance.
How strong that team is, making his way into the building. One of the bigger mixed martial arts fans I know, President Donald Trump, taking his octagon side seat for UFC 295. We got two title fights coming up at UFC 295 here in a matter of moments, live from Madison Square Garden.
However, to highlight just how strong the bond is between Donald Trump and Dana White, entrepreneur Patrick Bet-David shared an eye-opening story that perfectly captured their relationship. He explained how, even while enjoying an extravagant family vacation in Italy, Dana White didn't hesitate to answer Trump's call and immediately changed his plans to support him, proving the depth of their long-standing loyalty.
Dana White is on a family vacation in Italy. Probably spent a couple $1 million. He's typically in the ocean with his family, big yacht, friends, they're together. He gets a phone call. While he's in Italy, President Trump says, I want you to come and speak at the RNC. He gets invited, whether it's his handlers or himself, and I want you to come speak at the RNC. He's in the middle of a vacation with his family. He's sitting there. He's worth so much money, nearly a billionaire. He's already made all his money. He sits there, talks to his family, says, I'm gonna go to give this talk. Gets on a private jet, flies all the way out. That's probably $400,000 to $500,000 jet fuel. Goes, gives the speech, flies back in the middle of family vacation with wife, kids.
Reflecting on the powerful connection between Donald Trump and the UFC, Michael Bisping shared a memorable story that captured just how much energy Trump brings to any fighting event. His experience showed the massive impact Trump has on UFC crowds, setting the stage for the wild idea of hosting a fight right on the White House grounds.
Walks into the building, I am telling you, the place goes mental. I'll never forget, I was at a UFC event. It was Madison Square Garden 2023. I'd just gone upstairs to get myself a cheeky little drink.
Are you intoxicated?
And I was standing there, and then all of a sudden, the roar and this rumble. I thought, what's going on? Is there an earthquake? And someone goes, no, Trump has just walked into the building. And I'm telling you, when he walks in, that place just goes absolutely insane. Talking of insane, he wants to do it on the White House grounds, apparently.
On the other hand, as news of a UFC fight at the White House spread, reactions were mixed. While many were excited, some used humor to highlight how unusual the idea was. Comedian J.L. Cauvin added his sarcastic spin, joking about the event and the political drama around it, showing how divided opinions are on this surprising announcement.
Cousin humping Mountain Dew, snorting, animal supporters to watch MMA because as much as the left has a problem with men, they hate men, don't they hate men? We are going to show them what America is all about. And it's about having an Iranian with cauliflower ear and brain damage beating the living crap out of a black with brain damage and vice versa, while me and Conor McGregor exchange racial slurs. It's cool.
Moving on, as speculation about the fight card heats up, Michael Bisping turned his attention to the possible main event. He highlighted key fighters connected to Donald Trump and the UFC, teasing who might headline this historic White House showdown, and hunting for an upcoming announcement that could set the stage for an unforgettable night.
So, main event at the White House, who would this be? Well, we know that John Jones is one of Donald Trump's favorite fighters, and he just walked away from the sport. So Tom Aspinall apparently has a fight lined up, the date and the opponent.
Furthermore, following the growing buzz surrounding the idea of a UFC event at the White House, George Harris shared his excitement, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He pointed out how one-time events often become tradition, expressed how special it would be for any fighter to be part of such a historic moment.
And when they say it's gonna, like, when he said Noche is gonna be a one-time deal at the Sphere, I was like, yeah, probably not. It'll probably happen again. This will probably be a one-time deal. Like, there's no way some other fucking president's gonna pick this up and be like, yeah, let's have a fight.
Let's have a fight on the White House lawn.
I gotta be honest, man. If you have an opportunity to fight on that card and you got an opportunity, like, I'd be all in. It's a once-in-a-lifetime situation. You could say you were part of it. You were part of history. The fact that if they can get this done, how could you not be excited for it? All the media people, if they start talking shit, they start doing this is huge. Huge. I said, you know, it's huge when you had a sitting president.
Continuing his thoughts, Harris shifted to the scale and logistics of the event, highlighting just how massive the turnout could be. He reflected on past fight events and shared his belief that this historic card might end up being an exclusive, VIP-heavy experience with limited access for general fans.
It's huge when you had a sitting president coming to live UFC events. Huge. This trumps, no pun intended.
Yes, it trumps it.
That. It trumps it. It's a big deal, and they're saying that it can hold anywhere between 32,000 people. if it can hold 32,000 people, that's a shit ton of people. I don't know if that's true. They said anywhere between 25 to 30,000 people, 32,000 is how many it can hold. Now, obviously, I think they'll make it smaller. Remember, did you ever work any fights at the Playboy Mansion?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be 1,000 people small, but I'm simply saying I think it's going to end up being all tickets that are given to people that are VIPs, and I think there'll be very limited tickets.
Meanwhile, as talk of a historic UFC event at the White House continued to grow, John Jonas added even more fuel to the fire by revealing he's back in the USADA testing pool. In his own words, he tweets, "Just re-entered the testing pool. That lasted for about 2 weeks. Figured we'd keep everyone's options open." Yeah. Building on his earlier thoughts about the main event, Bisping dove deeper into the potential matchup between John Jonas and Tom Aspinall. He laid out how a tough fight could pull Jones out of retirement and create an epic showdown steeped in history and fierce national pride, perfect for a White House spectacle.
Even if it goes to a decision, okay, that's going to have John Jones thinking, hold on a minute, I can beat this guy. And if there's one fight, and if there's one location that John Jones would come out of retirement for, we might just get to see the greatest heavyweight fight of all time, if Tom only just scrapes by Cyril Gane. I think Jones would come out of retirement, and that would be the main event at the White House. John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, England versus USA, all over again, okay? 1776, eat your goddamn hearts out, except this time, we're gonna whoop your ass, guys. Anyway, there's the main event. Let me know what you think about that one. Co-main event, listen, McGregor's already...
Meanwhile, as excitement builds around the possibility of a UFC event at the White House, John Jones stepped into the spotlight with yet another brief social media post that instantly sparked speculation and heightened anticipation among fans for a potential return. He tweets, "Fighting at the White House." Adding on, as the idea of a White House UFC event kept gaining traction, Michael Bisping weighed in on the sudden twist surrounding John Jones. The former champion, who had just announced his retirement, was already making headlines again.
Media, they're all out there going, oh my God, this is crazy. They've gone full idiocracy. Look, listen, it's a bit of fun. It's a great sport. Donald Trump loves it, and he's loved the UFC for years. And I'll tell you what, if they put on a UFC event at the White House, I want to be there. If I was competing, I would have loved to compete at the White House. I'm very lucky I fought all over the world on almost every single continent. To fight at the White House, that would be unbelievable. So I'm going to take you through a dream card, because some fighters have already been putting their hand up and volunteering their services. But as we know, Donald Trump and Dana White, they have a very close friendship.
Dana White, who has done some job.
Back in the early days.
Building on that, Bisping pointed to how the buzz around the White House fight has played a role in reigniting Jonas's competitive fire, teasing the possibility of a legendary comeback timed perfectly with the historic event.
This goes on. Ilya Taporia, right? So he shares that. Okay, great. Of course, why not? I'd share that as well. I'd retweet it. And then this, fighting at the White House, that piqued his curiosity. You might have saw Donald Trump is saying that they're going to do a fight at the White House next year with 25,000 people. And I did a video on that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe that would be the fight for John Jones to come out of retirement. And then the very next tweet, there it is, just re-entered the testing pool. And at the time of me doing this, 4th of July, just about to start the barbecue, about to have a few beers, 37 minutes ago. Just re-entered the testing pool. That lasted for about 2 weeks. Figured we'd keep...
Furthermore, as fantasy matchmaking for the potential White House UFC event picked up steam, John McCarthy and George Harris stepped in to discuss the challenges of building the perfect fight card.
It's funny because we're talking about Conor McGregor, we're talking about John Jones. They're not champions right now.
No.
You have to have a champion headline that card.
Oh, have to.
Yeah, okay, so
how are you putting somebody else?
Where are you putting those guys?
Exactly. Good point.
You know,
I
and
like
so
that.
like, yeah, I mean, neither one's champion, neither one, you know, and I think it'd be very unique. And the other thing is, everything that John has just done.
And you can't put Tom Aspinall against John Jones at the White House.
No,
Can't do it. What happens if the Englishman wins? That's like giving your country back.
oh man,
It's
that would be
almost like losing.
As Harris and John continued, they took the discussion a step further, looking at the realities behind the hype. Shifting from fantasy matchmaking to practical considerations, they raised important questions about which fighters could truly deliver the star power needed for such a historic occasion.
No,
I really don't. You know, it's like you want to come back, no problem. You come back and we'll figure out when and where.
yeah, but it will not be the White House.
It won't be the White House.
Yeah, and I don't know about the Conor situation. Like, do you want to open it for that one as well?
Okay, so think about this, Josh.
Connor's still a big draw. John was never a huge draw.
He is a big draw. When's the last time he fought? It was over 4 years ago.
Yeah. And now let me ask you this. Here's another one. Michael Chandler.
No. No way.
What
Look,
are you doing?
if I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it right, and Connor's gonna be part of it, I'm gonna be talking to Dustin Poirier and saying, Dustin, you can retire after New Orleans, but just keep yourself kind of in shape and you'll come out of retirement for number 4.
With legends like John Jonas and Conor McGregor teasing epic returns, and with Dana White and Donald Trump pushing the boundaries of what's possible, the idea of a UFC event at the White House lawn feels closer to reality than ever before. From shocking tweets to heated reactions, from dream matchups to historic symbolism, this story has everything: spectacle, controversy, and the promise of something fans will remember forever. Whether it's Jonas versus Aspinall, McGregor headlining in front of the nation, or a new crop of stars stepping up, one thing is clear: if this event happens, it could become one of the biggest moments in UFC history. The atmosphere, the stakes, the eyes of the world, all focused on a fight card like no other. If the UFC hosts a fight at the White House, who do you want to see in the main event? Drop your dream matchups in the comments below.